There are moments in your life when your spirit feels a shift long before your eyes see anything change. You can't explain it, but something inside you starts to awaken, like God is whispering to your heart, "Prepare yourself." Suddenly the things that once distracted you lose their pull. The people who drained you begin to fall away. The noise around you starts to fade, and a quiet stirring rises within you. It's not anxiety, it's not imagination, it's divine anticipation. God often speaks in advance, not with loud signs, but with gentle spiritual nudges that tell you something is moving in the unseen. You feel a holy restlessness, a pull towards something higher, a sense that your current season is too small for what God has placed inside you. You start noticing that doors you once forced now close effortlessly, not to stop you, but to redirect you. And while you stand there wondering why life feels different, heaven is already rearranging the path in front of you. When God is preparing something big, He prepares you first. He shifts your atmosphere, He shifts your desires, He shifts your conversations, He shifts your spirit. You may not see the full picture yet, but you can sense the atmosphere of your life changing. That feeling is not random. It is God telling you in advance that something big is coming. Your spirit knows it before your mind understands it. Your heart feels it before your circumstances reveal it. And if you're hearing this right now, it is because God is aligning you for the next chapter He has already written for you. When God is preparing something big for your life, the very first sign is that He begins to shift your spirit long before anything shifts around you. It starts quietly, almost invisibly, like a gentle pull inside your heart that you can't fully explain. You wake up one day and sense that something about your life feels too small for the person you are becoming. The things that once satisfied you no longer feel enough. You begin to lose interest in conversations, habits, and environments that used to define you. This is not boredom or confusion, it is spiritual alignment. God always adjusts your inner world before He reveals what is coming in your outer world. When He is about to elevate you, He disrupts the comfort that keeps you tied to the old version of yourself. You may notice a sudden desire to grow, to improve, to break free from cycles you once tolerated. You may feel restless without knowing why, as if your spirit is trying to stretch into a bigger space that you have not yet seen. This inner shift is the first announcement from heaven that your next season has already begun. Even if nothing looks different, yet another part of this inner shift is a deep longing for separation. God begins to pull you away from certain people, places, and patterns that cannot go with you into your next season. You might not understand why certain friendships feel distant or why you suddenly crave more silence and less noise. It's because God is preparing your heart to carry something heavier, something greater, something sacred. Elevation requires clarity, and clarity often comes through separation. You may find yourself losing interest in conversations that drain your spirit or habits that steal your focus. What once entertained you now feels empty. What once distracted you now feels dangerous. This is not loneliness, it is divine repositioning. God isolates you not to remove love from your life, but to remove interference, so you can hear Him more clearly as He prepares you for the break through ahead. At the same time, your sensitivity to God increases. You begin to notice spiritual signs more quickly. Your spirit becomes more alert, more awake, more aware of the difference between what is from God and what is meant to derail you. You may feel a sudden urge to pray more, to read more, to reflect more, without anyone telling you to do so. It is the Holy Spirit stirring something inside you, expanding your capacity to carry what is coming. You begin to feel conviction in areas you once ignored. You sense God nudging you to fix things in your character, your habits, your discipline. Not because you are doing wrong, but because God is shaping you for the weight of a new blessing. What He is preparing requires a stronger version of you, and He begins that transformation quietly. Within your thoughts and desires, another sign is that God starts revealing hidden truths about your surroundings. You begin to see people's intentions more clearly. You recognize doors that look good but are not God's will. You feel a strong inner warning when something is not aligned with your future. The same discernment that once felt small becomes sharper, almost like a light inside you exposing things you never noticed before. This spiritual clarity is preparation. God will never lead you into a new season without giving you the eyes to recognize what belongs in it and what doesn't. What once confused you now becomes clear, and what once tempted you now feels unworthy of your calling. Lastly, you feel a quiet strength rising inside you, not loud confidence, not arrogance, but a steady assurance that you are moving towards something greater. Even if life feels uncertain, you feel anchored in a strange peace that you can't explain. It is the peace that comes when your spirit hears God's footsteps before your circumstances do. You start believing again, hoping again, expecting again. Not because everything is perfect, but because your spirit knows that God is preparing you for something you cannot fully see yet. When God is about to release something significant into your life, one of the first things He does is begin preparing your heart to receive it. This preparation often begins with subtle changes in the way you perceive your surroundings. Suddenly, things that used to feel urgent no longer carry the same weight. Certain relationships that once seemed necessary begin to lose their hold. Opportunities that looked appealing now seem mismatched with the direction your spirit is being led. You may feel restless without knowing exactly why, as if the ground beneath your life is slowly shifting. This restlessness is not anxiety. It is God's gentle way of waking your spirit to the reality that something bigger is coming. It is the whisper of divine alignment, preparing your mind, your heart, and your soul to step into a season of blessing that requires a higher level of spiritual maturity, emotional clarity, and faith that surpasses understanding. During this season of preparation, God often begins to refine your priorities. You notice that you are drawn to things that align with His purpose and repelled by things that do not. What once distracted you now feels unimportant. What once entertained you now feels hollow. Your thoughts begin to shift, your desires begin to elevate, and your vision for your life starts to expand beyond what you have known. God is training your heart to embrace greater responsibility, not just materially or professionally, but spiritually. He is teaching you patience so that when the blessing arrives, you will not waste it through impulsive decisions. He is teaching you discernment so that you can recognize the people, opportunities, and choices that are aligned with His will. Your awareness begins to expand to understand the unseen workings of His plans, even before they manifest in your physical world. Another sign that God is preparing you is a growing sense of peace amid uncertainty. You may not know the details of what is coming, and your circumstances may appear chaotic or stagnant, but a deep, inexplicable confidence begins to rise within you. This confidence is not from worldly understanding. It is spiritual assurance that God's plan is in motion, even if you cannot see it with your natural eyes. You begin to trust that every delay, every setback, and every closed door is part of a larger strategy orchestrated for your good. This trust allows you to remain calm and composed, refusing to let fear, doubt, or impatience dictate your reactions. You start to carry yourself differently, speak differently, and make choices differently, guided by the knowledge that God is actively moving in your favor. God also begins to sharpen your discernment during this preparation period. People, situations, and environments that once seemed harmless may suddenly feel uncomfortable. You may notice intentions, energies, and motives more clearly than before. This heightened awareness is not meant to isolate you, but to protect you from what could hinder the fulfillment of your destiny. You start understanding that certain closures and rejections were blessings in disguise. You begin to see that some doors remain closed not to stop you, but to redirect you toward opportunities better suited to your growth and purpose. The spiritual sensitivity that develops during this season ensures that you are positioned to walk into the next chapter fully prepared, free from unnecessary distractions or influences. At the same time, God strengthens your faith. You may feel stretched, challenged, or even tested, but these experiences build resilience. You learn to hold on to promises in the midst of uncertainty. You learn to trust the timing of God over your own timeline. You develop the courage to step forward even when the path is unclear. Every small victory, every act of obedience, and every patient moment becomes a building block in your spiritual foundation. Your confidence grows, not from what you have achieved, but from knowing that God is moving and that His plans are unstoppable. Finally, God begins to awaken expectation in your spirit. Even before the manifestation of the blessing, your heart starts to believe again. You find yourself anticipating breakthroughs, praying with more purpose, and living with hope. This expectation is crucial because it aligns your spirit with the frequency of the blessing. Your readiness becomes the magnet that attracts the fulfillment of God's promise. You begin to see the invisible threads of preparation woven together, understanding that each moment of waiting has been a necessary part of your journey, shaping you into the person capable of receiving the abundance, favor, and elevation that God has reserved for you. When God is about to release a major breakthrough into your life, He begins by preparing your spirit in ways that are often invisible to the human eye. You may not notice the work being done immediately because it starts within, in the quiet corners of your heart and mind. Your desires begin to shift subtly, drawing you away from things that once consumed your attention and toward what truly aligns with His plan. You feel an inner stirring, a sense that something bigger is on the horizon, even when your circumstances seem unchanged. It may feel like restlessness, but it is actually spiritual activation, a divine way of opening your heart to what is about to arrive. God begins to prune your life, cutting away relationships, habits, and mindsets that will not serve you in the new season He is bringing. And this pruning is not punishment, it is protection. Some doors close so that greater doors can open, and some people exit your life so that the space is cleared for divine connections. You may question why certain things fall away, but God knows what is necessary for the blessing He has designed for you. Preparation is never wasted, even when it is uncomfortable or confusing, because it is shaping you to handle what is coming with grace, wisdom, and faith during this time. God also strengthens your spiritual senses. You begin to perceive situations, people, and decisions with greater clarity. You sense the presence of His hand in subtle ways that before went unnoticed. You start discerning what aligns with your purpose and what does not, even before it manifests in your circumstances. Your mind becomes sharper, your intuition deeper, and your understanding of divine timing more profound. You recognize that delays, setbacks, and obstacles are not indicators of failure, but signs of preparation. Each moment of waiting teaches patience, builds resilience, and deepens your trust in God's perfect timing. You begin to understand that He does not rush His work because rushing would compromise the fullness of the blessing, and that His timing, though unseen, is perfect. This realization helps you approach challenges differently. Instead of reacting with frustration or fear, you respond with faith, knowing that the unseen is more real than the temporary struggles around you. Your perspective shifts from what is immediate and visible to what is eternal and guided by divine purpose. Another key part of this preparation is an awakening of expectation within your spirit. Even before the breakthrough manifests, your heart begins to anticipate what is coming. You begin to pray with more faith, expect with more confidence, and act with more courage. Your energy changes, attracting opportunities and connections that align with God's plan. This expectation is a spiritual magnet that draws the fulfillment of promises closer to you. It aligns your thoughts, actions, and prayers with the divine flow, creating a readiness within you that ensures you will recognize and receive the blessing the moment it arrives. God does not just bring blessings to those who wait. He brings them to those who are prepared, and preparation begins in the spirit. The shift you feel, the awareness that grows, and the patience that develops are all essential components of the process that will allow you to handle the breakthrough without fear, confusion, or hesitation. God also begins to cultivate a deeper faith and resilience within you during this season. You face challenges that test your patience, push your limits, and stretch your trust, but these experiences build strength. You learn to stand firm in belief even when the circumstances seem uncertain. You learn to walk in obedience even when the outcome is unclear. Each act of faith, no matter how small, becomes a foundation for the greater things He is preparing. You are being shaped, aligned, and equipped in ways that cannot be achieved without this preparation. Your spirit grows stronger, your mind becomes more focused, and your heart more attuned to God's voice. You start to notice that every moment of difficulty, every closed door, and every period of waiting has a purpose, all designed to prepare you to receive the blessing that is already on its way. You begin to recognize that God is not just orchestrating events in your life, He is orchestrating transformation within you. When God is about to bring something big into your life, one of the first things He does is begin to reposition your spirit. He starts by quietly adjusting your perspective, your priorities, and even your desires, so that when the blessing arrives, you are ready to receive it without fear, doubt, or hesitation. You may feel a subtle shift in your heart, a stirring that you cannot explain, a sense that the season you are in is too small for the person you are becoming. This internal shift often comes as a mixture of restlessness and anticipation. You start to notice that what once satisfied you now feels empty, and what once entertained you now feels shallow. You may feel drawn to new pursuits, new relationships, or new ways of thinking that you would have never considered before. And this is the work of God aligning your heart to the blessing He is preparing. Every change, every internal nudge, every moment of discomfort is purposeful, designed to expand your capacity and refine your spirit so that you can fully embrace the increase that is coming during this time. God often begins to prune your life. He may close doors that you thought were essential, redirect your path in ways that seem unfamiliar, or remove people from your life who no longer fit into the destiny He has planned for you. These moments can feel painful at first, but they are not punishments. They are divine adjustments. God is protecting you from distractions, interference, and anything that would hinder the blessing He is orchestrating. He is creating space for new connections, new opportunities, and a new season of favor to enter without obstruction. You may feel uncertain, lonely, or even confused, but the spiritual truth is that God is positioning you strategically. Every separation, every closure, and every shift is a part of the preparation process that ensures the fullness of His plan is not compromised. Your understanding may be limited, but your spirit senses the movement of God, guiding you to trust the invisible before you see the visible. Another key aspect of this preparation is the sharpening of spiritual discernment. You begin to perceive the world differently. People's true intentions become more obvious, and situations that once seemed harmless now carry deeper meaning. You feel an increased sensitivity to the spiritual atmosphere around you, and you start recognizing what aligns with God's will and what does not. This discernment is essential because the breakthrough that is coming requires clarity. You cannot step into a higher season carrying confusion, deception, or misalignment. God is teaching you to recognize truth and reject anything that would hinder your path. You begin to understand that delays, setbacks, and closed doors are not failures, but protective measures orchestrated by heaven. They are not denials, but refinements, ensuring that when the time comes, you are equipped to receive the blessing fully, without compromise or regret at the same time. God strengthens your faith during this season. You may face challenges, obstacles, or situations that test your patience, resilience, and trust. But these trials are not meant to break you. They are designed to build you. Every test stretches your faith, every challenge strengthens your spirit, and every moment of waiting deepens your reliance on God. You start to learn that His timing is perfect and that nothing is wasted. What seems like a delay is actually a setup. What feels like stagnation is actually preparation. Your understanding of God's purpose begins to expand, and your heart grows in expectation of the good that is coming. You begin to act with courage, speak with boldness, and live with a heightened awareness of His presence, because you sense that something monumental is approaching. Your spirit becomes aligned with heaven, your mind becomes focused on the unseen, and your heart becomes tuned to the divine rhythm of preparation, anticipation, and readiness. When God is about to release a significant blessing into your life, one of the final signs is a profound shift in your spiritual awareness. You begin to notice subtle confirmations, moments that seem coincidental but carry divine intention. Your heart is more sensitive to prayer, more attuned to Scripture, and more receptive to the quiet whispers of the Holy Spirit. You may find yourself reflecting on your life with deeper clarity, recognizing patterns, decisions, and lessons that were shaping you for this moment even before you were aware of it. This heightened awareness is part of God's preparation. He wants your spirit to recognize the magnitude of what is coming and to respond in faith, not fear. Your understanding deepens, and even though the full picture is not yet visible, you begin to operate from a place of trust that what is ahead is far greater than you could imagine during this stage. God often begins to open new doors while simultaneously closing old ones. These openings may not be obvious at first, but they represent opportunities, connections, and resources that align with His plan. The closures, though painful, are meant to remove distractions, toxic influences, and any attachments that could interfere with the fullness of the blessing. You may notice a natural distancing from certain people, places, or patterns, and though it may feel unsettling, it is part of a divine strategy to position you for success. God rearranges circumstances in ways that protect your spiritual and emotional integrity, ensuring that when the blessing arrives, it will not be compromised by misalignment. The doors that open are designed to match the level of spiritual growth, faith, and readiness that He has cultivated in you. As your life begins to align more closely with His plan, you start to sense a growing anticipation within your spirit. This is not mere excitement or wishful thinking. It is a spiritual expectation that the promises of God are near fulfillment. Your prayers begin to carry more authority. Your faith is strengthened by previous experiences of His faithfulness, and your hope becomes unshakable. You feel a steady assurance, even in the midst of uncertainty, that God is orchestrating events behind the scenes. You recognize that every delay, every test, and every challenge has been purposeful, designed to prepare you to receive what is coming without doubt or hesitation. Your trust deepens because you have learned to see God's hand in the unseen. Even when your natural eyes cannot yet perceive the full scope of His plan, another key aspect of this season is a refining of character and spirit. God uses this time to cultivate patience, humility, and perseverance within you. You learn to rely more on His wisdom than your own understanding. You become less swayed by circumstances and more anchored in His promises. Spiritual maturity is developed in ways that cannot be rushed, and God ensures that your inner life is ready to handle the magnitude of what He is preparing. You may find yourself more compassionate, more focused, and more intentional in your actions, because the coming blessing requires a heart that is aligned with divine purpose. God's work in your character ensures that you do not receive prematurely or unprepared, and that the blessings arrive in their fullness, ready to transform your life finally. God awakens a sense of divine timing in your spirit. You begin to understand that nothing happens by chance, and that His timing is perfect. You notice the subtle ways He orchestrates events, aligning people, circumstances, and opportunities to coincide at precisely the right moment. This awareness creates a sense of peace, confidence, and readiness. You begin to operate with a sense of expectation rather than anxiety, knowing that what is coming is inevitable because God has promised it and has prepared the way. You recognize that every prayer you have prayed, every struggle you have endured, and every act of faith you have exercised is now converging to bring the blessing into manifestation. Your spirit is aligned, your mind is focused, and your heart is fully attuned to receive all that God has already prepared for you.